You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, it's AFTERBUZZ TV's Game Control Live.
Hey guys, and welcome to Game Control Live, where we're going to talk a lot about some Xbox because the announcement was just this week. But before we get started, sitting across from me, we've got Grant Kohrmann.
Hi, everybody.
And an amazing Muppets shirt.
Thank you.
And sitting next to him, the lovely Raychul Moore.
Hello. I don't hear me or you.
Hello. Why don't you try again?
Hello.
There we go. There you go. Spiked up the mic. And next to me, the lovely Kaori Takee.
Hey guys.
And guys, I'm Dave Klein, and we have a very special guest with us today. All the way from Pixel, cross Pixel, it's Patrick Dees.
What's going on, guys?
Yay.
We are happy to have you.
Thanks, sir.
And all of your, I'm sure, wonderful or hateful opinions. We'll find out
It's
very
going to go
soon.
some of both. It's going to go some of both there.
Because we've got a big announcement this week. But before we talk about the Xbox One reveal, I do want to also say that we're going to talk about E3 updates, some gaming moments of the week, quick hit news stories with curiosity because it's finally over. Oh my god. And some This Week in Research if we have time to get to it. So guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. Some Xbox One because the reveal happened on Tuesday last week. What did you guys think? What was your overall impression?
It was eventful. I mean, they got everybody in Redmond in a huge black tent, and they let the press in the world know what the next Xbox was going to be.
Yeah. Rachel, what were your thoughts?
I'm excited for a new Xbox, of course, but I kind of just want a game console. I don't want something that's gonna try to be my cable box and be my DVD player and all that other stuff. I just want to play games on it.
Yeah.
And so until I actually see a better lineup of games, I can't really judge it yet as a game console.
Yeah, and then E3 is going to show us more of a, like what games they're going to come out with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy with all the specs I heard about. It was kind of what we expected. There's a lot of rumors that were true, some were false, but yeah, so far still.
No, actually, I called it out on Twitter. I said to all you guys, if we were going by points, I think I might have come out on top out of the four of us. As far as the predictions and everything, I called back. What was it, 4 episodes ago? I was like, they're gonna go back to an iPhone type naming scheme, so it's gonna be the Xbox One, Xbox 2. I didn't know that they were going to go back to Xbox One, but I thought that they were gonna be oh, this is.
Which makes no sense because the original Xbox, I call that Xbox One. I mean,
Right.
people have come up and they're like, "Hey, what do you think about the Xbox One?" And I instantly think about old Xbox.
I think that's just a phase one, right? They're calling it Xbox One, but I think really what they want to do is get back to that core Xbox branding. You don't see Xbox One on the physical console itself anyway, so I think it's a bit of a placeholder right now, and then we're going to see the evolution of that brand turn into just Xbox.
I still think it's going to be like the iPhone, the way the Apple.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I mean, on that note, there's actually a brand guideline that came out from Microsoft where they said first use Xbox One or Xbox One console. Do not use Xbox alone to represent the platform or console. So I think they do specifically want that one to be a part of it. But I mean, overall, I was pretty disappointed by this as a gamer, and even as if you're not a gamer, just as a console to get all the features that they're saying, it's cool, they're fine, but I could do without all of them. And I think actually my favorite thing was a tweet from the GameSpot, which was, and usually I don't read too much GameSpot, but I do love this tweet, which I'm trying to pull out for you guys.
Upon pages, don't you?
There's
a lot to go over.
There's a lot to talk about.
Okay, so,
exactly.
Actually, I'm gonna keep on looking for a moment.
I think the thing that most interesting to me was the fact that the gamers in general, and then also press people, are up in arms over the fact that it seems underpowered. But I mean, just to give you a comparison, the original Xbox, once, especially the more recent models, 3 cores running at 3.2 gigahertz. This Xbox is going to be 8 cores running at 1.6 gigahertz. And I've kind of given processing power a little bit more leeway. I've understood that my 4-core computer is running at the same theoretical rate that my 2-core computer ran at 4 years ago, 3.2 gigahertz about. So the fact that you're adding more cores on top of it is making it more powerful.
What?
I've understood at least that.
I think the one point that continually gets under notice is that when they talked about the cloud features, right? I mean, so technically the computational power of this console will improve over time,
I think
right?
that
They can
people just
offload
think it's
computation.
incredulous. That's all. Like they want to see an example of it running. Like they think that for the most part it's going to be more like on live as opposed to like a rendering system in the cloud.
Sure, but I mean they're saying that there's a potential to offload actual game computations, right? So I think as we see later on in this generation, I think it's going to look even better and has a potential to far exceed what the PS4 is
putting
putting
together. At E3 though, they need to show they need to put everybody in a room and go like, hey, guess what? This fantastic thing you're seeing right now, none of the processing is happening on the Xbox that's in the room with us. It's all happening in the cloud.
Well, one of the cool things
servers.
that with the cloud and what they're doing is that when you're that they can do with this is they're saying that when you download a game to play, you can start playing it right away while it's still downloading.
I don't like that either, though.
Why not?
Well,
that's one of the few things I like.
Absolutely,
I loved it.
There's a lot I didn't like.
I do like being able to play it while it downloads, but I want to know how much that slows down the actual game. Because I mean, we can't even sometimes watch a video on YouTube while
streaming.
And not have problems. I want to see how well this does.
It was more like I mean, you can do it with World of Warcraft. You can start playing a patch or a content as you're downloading the game.
But if you don't have epic, super amazing internet, that's going to be a big problem.
But they were also talking about like every game will need to be installed off of the disc.
I hate that.
I hate that too. I hate that.
You look at my 360 collection, and it's easily over 100 different games. So if you think about having to install every single one of those games, I'm going to run out of space really, really quickly.
They're Blu-rays, so the amount of storage is like, it could go up to 50 gigabytes.
You're going to see about 50.
And you only got 500 gigabytes on the system, so that's like 10 games.
And you can't even use all 500 of those gigabytes.
But I doubt they'll...
no, I mean, they won't, but I'm just saying, though, that... I mean, like, I had to buy a new Xbox for a bigger hard drive at one point.
Just to give you an example... PlayStation has been using Blu-ray since PlayStation 3 has been using Blu-ray since the launch. They've had the option of doing 50 gigabyte games for the last 6 years.
But games are going to get bigger now with new graphics.
Yeah.
But it'll be a little bit more slow.
But still, they've yet to really roadmap what the cloud looks like, right? So I think even if it is 500 gigs locally, I'm sure that it'll be a really expanded cloud storage. They're going to have to. So I'm just not that worried about it.
Hey, there's going to be a slim version with a terabyte hard drive in a couple years.
I like the design of the system. I think it's super pretty and streamlined and sexy. My main thing that I hate about it is requiring the Kinect. Nobody likes the Kinect. And now we're being forced to have it, and I hate that.
It's always going to watch you. Always. It's always watching you.
I'm going to have a towel over mine. It's not going to read my heartbeat. No.
And it also can watch, like, apparently can read if a friend walks into the room. It actually will talk to you. That's what reports are saying. Is Kinect will say, who is joining you right now? I'll actually ask you, so they say their name.
It's like Seaman on Dreamcast. It's like, are you in the room alone?
Arguably one of the best games of all time. Are you kidding me?
But I do want to say, Ryan Whittleson on the chat says about it, I want a gaming system. There isn't anything in the announcement I was excited about. And this is my quote that I wanted to read, which is from GameSpot. It's from Carolyn Petit, who's tweeting something. Microsoft made the mistake. The marketing team actually used this tweet for their marketing and didn't realize the sarcasm in it. Quote is from her tweet, every night when I watch TV, I think, it's just all so challenging. There's got to be a better way. Finally, there is. Hashtag Xbox One. And that's a lot of what I got out of this, is that they were kind of marketing everything from their reveal, as Ryan Whittleson was talking about. None of it was really for gamers. And this fact that they're saying, and they're trying to quote and say, oh, well, it is still primarily a gaming system. We're showing that all at E3.
Is anybody really worried that the Xbox isn't going to be for gamers?
This isn't a game. This isn't a game console.
The problem with this announcement is that they're trying to go more mainstream with it. That's what they're doing. But by doing that, they're putting all the gamers in the dust with this announcement.
It would be like saying the new Corvette. It's like, do you really have to constantly remind everybody that it's a freaking car?
But you
talk about the air conditioning, talk about like the expanded features, which they did, and
so you talk about the game.
This isn't a game system.
I'm of two minds, 100% on this. I'm of two minds. So as a core gamer, I was a little disappointed in the presentation. I mean, I agree with you. They didn't show anything, but I think from a corporate execution perspective, I think they crushed it. So forever, Microsoft and PlayStation have been cannibalizing each other's base, right? So let's say they steal 1% of that hardcore television audience. And I disagree with that whole, I wish there were a better way. I think innovation in the cable space has been non-existent. My interface with Time Warner is from the Eisenhower administration. it's terrible.
That's because it's Time Warner.
I mean, okay, I'll give you that. I'm just saying that there's.
You got DirecTV and satellite for different times, ways to do it.
All right, I'll give you that. But so I think if they get this out of the way, right? They take that 1%, that 2%, that hardcore television audience. By the way, it does still play games. We left with 15 first-party titles will be announced, and then they just get to blow it up at E3, which is built for gamers.
It was 15 new games. There's only, I think, 8 exclusive games.
But still,
I think it's 8 new IPs, right? It's 15 first-party.
8 new IPs. But I mean, the thing is, though, if you're trying to market it as a gaming system, they just didn't do that. And from the games they showed 3 games. They showed an EA Sports game, which we all know is going to come out for every system. They showed Forza, which doesn't really market to gamers per se. It's fine. And they showed Call of Duty Ghosts, which is fine too. But Call of Duty Ghosts isn't even running a new engine. It's running the same engine that the last Call of Duty game was on.
And it's going to be on all 4 systems.
Well, but
it's just they're trying to excite me as a gamer. None of that stuff excites me.
I don't think they are trying to excite us as a gamer at all. What they did was they announced a multimedia system that can also play games.
But I think they did just enough, right? Like FIFA and Call of Duty are like the 2 biggest console games in the universe.
But those aren't gamers' games.
I mean, to an extent they are.
Well,
they sell.
They're not.
They sell.
Hardcore
those
gamer
2 games when they come out in a year sell as much units.
But those people who are playing
5
FIFA,
other main AAA
no, but those
titles.
people who are playing FIFA, who are playing Madden, who are playing, those sports games, aren't the ones also going out and buying
I also
Skyrim
think that those people
and
will
buying
also be the
Bulletstorm.
I think those are the people that will hold on to their Xbox 360s the longest.
Look, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you, Patrick, about that. With the games, they're fine. I think anyone can play those games.
Right.
But the thing is, all those games are games that we already knew were going to come out. They're yearly releases that we always see for every system, multi-platform. And that is why I think that it doesn't matter that they showed them. It's because we all knew it was going to happen.
Totally.
That's why.
And we did it. Like I said, I don't think that conference was built for anybody in this room. But there's a cool power in associating yourself with being the Call of Duty box, right? Strategically, and the FIFA box. Even if it's not an exclusive, people want to play. I mean, they did that this generation with some of the Time DLC, right? And so people do associate the Xbox with being a Call of Duty machine.
Yeah, and like if you're coming off of the announcements and you were basing it on the announcements alone, like you can kind of refer to the PS4 as like the biggest thing that came out of that was kind of like the Killzone game being announced at launch.
Exactly.
So if you had to compare like titles that were announced with it, it's like you have Xbox with like all this media stuff, and then they show FIFA and then Call of Duty, and then with PlayStation they have like Killzone. So it's very like. If you had to separate them, they were separated into
that's because with this generation of gaming consoles, the 360 is the console that you buy all of your games for that are on all the other systems, and the PlayStation is this console that's got way better first-party titles.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, what you were talking about, though, with the mass media, here's some quotes from some of the mass media, because if you look at any gaming outlet, everyone from gaming outlets seem to be disappointed. But Fox News is quoted saying, "Indeed, the Xbox One demonstration was so impressive it made me wonder why the heck didn't they do this with the disastrous Windows 8? CNN says the console itself is more angular and practical looking than either of its 2 predecessors. Flat and rectangular like a cable box, you could almost call the design reserved." And then you have The Sun saying, "But the news that really got gamers salivating was the exclusive gaming deals they announced." So
wait a minute,
Call of Duty Ghosts takes the critically
bitching
acclaimed
about the
franchise.
fact that news articles who are normally completely divested from gaming news are utterly clueless about this launch and what it means to gamers.
But the point is that if you're looking at what Xbox is trying to sell to, they're not really selling to gamers with this launch. That's my point I'm making.
No, and mission accomplished. I mean, I agree with you, and I think from a strategy perspective, it was pretty smart because then they have a chance to follow up with E3 in 3 weeks with 15 first-party. And I think that's the lesson they learned from this last generation was, to your point, you buy the PlayStation for those first-party titles, and now I think that's the lesson they're taking into this generation is they're going to have their own really kick-ass.
That's what they have to do. Yeah. I mean, if that would be like the real failing is if they come to E3 and they're showing not Gears of War. God, hopefully, Call of Duty and this. FIFA game, like if that's those are their trophies, like they don't show off, like Destiny is going to be multi-platform.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if they try showing off these games which we know are going to be multi-platform and they don't have like the big like, oh shit, we surprised you with something, then it's going to be the failing. Like
I think
that'll be the
IPs.
swing.
Right.
That'll be the swing that if it's 8 new IPs like puzzle games and stuff like that, then it's not going to be a seller. Like people are going to like side with PS4 right then and there.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I'm already siding with PS4, but we'll wait till E3. Well, there's nothing in those specs that intrigued me or made me want to say, okay, I can maybe go the Xbox
for
route.
me, it's not about
the
1080p
for me, it's not about the specs.
that can recognize
it's
whether or
about
not you're
the
like
games.
excited
It's
because of
about
your
the
blood vessels or
games.
whatever.
No,
All right,
I don't need it.
Here's the very disturbing thing about having that Kinect constantly on there, and I'm not the first one to make this joke because I believe Penny Arcade already has. Now the possibility of me accidentally catching my friends in the act of masturbating has gone exponentially up.
Whoa.
That is happening.
I'm gonna
I don't
put
know.
a towel
I guess you
over
do
my
it in the
head.
living room in front of your TV. Look,
Where else do you
Supposed
do
to be
it,
at the
Dave?
computer.
I don't
in
know,
the
John. We live
shower
together.
and
So
You guys should have this conversation later.
John and I live together, so this just got really weird.
It's gone exponentially up. Like before, I could have gone my entire life. Now it's like it's closing in on that.
The internet has
certainty
helped
point.
a bit with that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Rachel, I agree with you that it's all about the games. And it's hard to say any firm thoughts without seeing what games are coming out, both for the PS4 and the Xbox One. But there are things that really are deterring me from wanting to get the Xbox One without seeing the games. So, and that would have to do with the always on and with the used games that have been happening. And this is from, I mean, basically it seems like Harrison, the VP for Phil Harrison, who's one of the VPs for Microsoft, just has basically been trolling Microsoft, is what it seems like, because every negative thing that's come out post-wise has been something Phil Harrison said.
Some people were saying he was a little bit like just off his game.
But let me jump on the things that he's been saying though. So he basically said that
I would have been.
we're not Xbox One is not
That's
going
every day.
Xbox One is not going to be always on, but you have to be connected to the internet once a day. So every 24 hours it has to check to make sure you're online. And as you guys have known from our previous discussions, I'm very against anything like that because for any reason, I don't think you should buy a system and it has to authenticate you and give you permission, which is the quote, give you permission to play your own games that you buy. And that's their quote. And then the other thing that's happening with used games is first they were saying that, okay, so if you want to play a used game at a friend's house, if you have a game and you want them to play it, they have to pay the full $60 price.
Yeah.
But
I was reading that depends on the developer that they're giving the developer.
Well, right, but then they were going back. Well, yeah, but then they were going back and they're like, no, wait, no, it's the developer, and now they're switching it around and they're like, now they're saying that you just have to download it onto your friend's console and it can only be registered to one console at a time.
The thing that you should take away from this is that the technology exists and it's shipping with the Xbox. The reason that there's so much confusion between the announcement and what a developer will do and what Microsoft will eventually do is because, yes, the technology exists, but they still haven't decided how restrictive it's going to be. So they could probably turn off the authentication requiring you to go and connect to their server every 24 hours. They can probably make it so that you can move your game back and forth. But if they leave it up to the developers, you're going to see developers flounder with the choice on their own. See, you're going to see EA try their hand at it, and then if it really pisses off their fans, they'll scale back.
I totally
and turn it
disagree.
off.
I thought their announcement that they were getting away with the online passes was so completely disingenuous. I think this is completely developer driven, and if you think it will be different on the PS4, you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, there will be console parity there 100%, and I think that's where Microsoft missed it. Was just a messaging thing, right?
Can we also throw out the GameStop's after this GameStop's stock plummeted after the announcement.
Yeah.
So
18%.
But I think that's just the confusion. So we'll see what happens when it finally comes out what's really going on.
What they'll find out is if they do start restricting used game sales, that new game sales are going to drop just as fast. I think if people can't trade in their games once they're done, or if they don't like it, they'll be a lot more picky about what they buy new.
What does that do for GameFly games?
I hope it doesn't do a lot, because damn it, I need GameFly, because I can't afford.
I'm addicted. I'm like
but
3
the thing
games
is,
out at a time.
with GameFly, it works to new games, because if I like a game through GameFly, I will go out and buy it new.
Sure, but I'm saying, with GameFly, that works where they're shipping the same disc to everybody. But yeah, another thing I really hate is what you're talking about, Rachel, before that you don't like, is that you have to download every single game that you buy on your system. PS3 did that. I hated that you could do that with your PS3, and I didn't want to play the games that you had to do that. I don't want to install an entire game onto my hard drive.
Ain't nobody got room for that.
Most of the Xbox games that have actually allowed you to do it as a choice, and then all of a sudden the graphics capabilities and the quality of the game suddenly bumps up, you found a lot of people not really worried about that install time when it meant that
I just don't want it to be a requirement. That's the issue to me.
I didn't install any of my games. I would rather not because I don't want to take up that precious space.
When it becomes a requirement, that's when it becomes an issue to me.
What fundamentally is the issue? Why is the requirement something that's just killing this for you? Because for me,
space.
Well, but again, we're under the impression that we'll be able to scale this almost infinitely in the cloud eventually, right? I mean, server capacity is just going to get bigger.
Eventually, but how long is that going to take?
I mean, a year, 2 years.
Well, this last 8 years, the console, like, we might see a point when, by the time that this console ends, this is what I was saying to you, Dave, I think, on Twitter. By the time the console ends, by the time this console's life cycle ends, we might not even be buying physical copies of the game.
I don't think we will be. I think it'll be day-and-date digital for most stuff.
Look, Mugglemind on the chat says it penalizes those people that don't have internet or even a stable net connection. And I think that's the issue with all these cloud things that they're doing is that's why you should still have that physical option. It should be an option. I'm fine with it existing. I like the technology. I'm fine with that. I just don't think it should be a requirement. Same with Always On. I think it's cool. There's a lot of cool features with that, but it shouldn't be a requirement. As a consumer, I want options.
I don't think a developer would be stupid enough to do that with their big games. I don't think that the people that are going to, like, let's just put it this way. A person who has, like, a really shitty internet connection, like, are they really going to go out and be buying... are they really going to go out and buy Gears of War so they can play with their buddy on the other side of the United States?
Upgrade your internet.
No, because they don't have good internet. They're going out to buy the games that they can play in their houses and the games that Microsoft already expects they're going to buy.
But you still have to download and use cloud functionality, potentially.
Potentially, and if it's up to the developers. So if the developer says, like, oh, our most popular game in our entire lineup, a game which is not pirated at all and is bought exclusively by people with shitty internet connections, is going to be like hampered by this like online functionality.
Okay, but what if you're one of the few people? But what if you're one of the people? Not that there's many, but who buys Call of Duty for the single player and you don't play multiplayer and you actually enjoy the Call of Duty single player?
Again,
that's one of those games that they would probably make. Yeah, but you're just but again, you're getting screwed as a consumer. So why would you support any way for you to get screwed as a consumer?
Choice, and if the developer makes that poor choice, they should be like honestly they'll make their choice, but then they'll patch it.
You know what? So I'll just get a PlayStation 4 so I don't even have to worry about it. Because as a consumer, I want options that support me as a consumer. Why are you supporting them being anti-consumer?
I'm with you.
With all technology, you have to learn. But they have to learn what's going to work and what's not going to work. And we don't even know what's going to work. And we don't know what we actually want out of these systems yet until we get them in our home and see how they work with our lifestyle.
I've seen with SimCity and Diablo 3 that they haven't learned twice. So.
Well, I want to say this though. I think what we're totally missing here is that Microsoft is an innovator. They're always innovators. They're trendsetters. They were the first to have achievements, right? Now that's globally. Achievements are everywhere. They were the first people to.
Sega was also an innovator.
Okay. Stay with me though. But I'm saying in 2002 they required a broadband connection for live, right? At the time it was highly unpopular, but frankly it really changed the way everything.
And now
worked.
there isn't like a person who
some
plays
things work, some don't.
Yeah.
You just have to like kind of go with it and see what works and what doesn't.
Their misses, Vista was a big Windows. I mean, a Microsoft miss. But what I'm saying is that I think
you're missing Microsoft Millennium Edition. Hello.
Hello. So anyway, I think they're innovators. I think a lot of this stuff will actually prove out to be consumer friendly. And I do think what I will say, Dave, is in buying a PlayStation 4, I think really. Sony's just done a much better job messaging some of this stuff. I think that they're really going to be parity on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
They have not come out either way. Their announcement was, you will be able to play used games. Good night. Yeah. Right. We don't know what that means yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we don't have the details.
Key points away from the PS4 announcement, they basically announced everything that the Xbox announced, the sharing features, the social connection, and they left out a bunch of the key features that might piss off people.
Totally. And I did love the way Microsoft handled that when they went like, yeah, of course you can share your stuff. Like, yeah, that's just, of course you can do every one of those big selling points that Sony had. Microsoft was like, yeah, duh, you can do that. We'll get that out of the way. But here's the other stuff. So I think they handled that well.
And they're going to be a lot more similar than people like to realize.
I
have
agree.
a lot of problems. You're going to like if there's server problems on the Xbox, that's not going to be Microsoft's problem only. It's going to be you're going to have similar hiccups and hacking and like dropouts on the PlayStation network as well.
Yep.
And goodness, I mean, I would say the interruptions on the PlayStation in its current generation, I don't think they fixed it with the PS4, are more annoying than the Xbox when it disconnects from the PlayStation network.
I just wanted to go back on the whole used game thing.
Okay.
Imagine going to a friend's place and saying, "Yay, you got to pay $60 for using this."
But that was debunked.
It was debunked, but it's basically
that's not a thing.
Basically, with all this stuff, and the reason I was bringing up the always on thing and the fact that I said that basically the VP was just trolling their own company is because everything he said. He was drunk. He's just drunk. Go home.
Hammered.
You're drunk. Go
been
home.
a long cycle. Go home. We'll call you a cab.
But basically, everything he said, they were just like, that's a possible scenario. But that's the weird quote. It's a possible scenario.
Again, they're leaving it up
It's
to
a
the
very
developers,
strange quote.
probably.
But even if you take a game to a friend's house and it can only be working on one system at a time, you already have to do that with your Xbox Live profile. So I don't see what the big deal is there.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
imagine this though.
Options.
Imagine this
But
though.
you already don't have that option. So the fact that the option is staying the same
Wait, no, but
shouldn't be an issue.
Stay with me. Imagine this scenario, okay?
Come on.
Your friend gets a game, and you want to borrow the game or play it, or maybe you guys want to play at your house, so you don't have to haul your entire system over. Just to play it together. It's not like something where you have to have their account. Then you get to their place, you have to install the entire game, which could take up to 2 hours. We don't know how long it'll take. Maybe it'll take
Yeah,
30
it'll
minutes.
take
Maybe.
2 hours.
But still, I mean, you have to install the entire game, and then if the developer says so, they're like, you know what, we want you to pay an extra $60 actually. So, again, you just brought over your game to your friend's house and you can't play it. So you have to bring over your entire console.
No, just install the game along with your Xbox Live account,
your
and
account.
boom,
Yeah,
it's the
your
same.
profile's in the
it's
cloud,
the
you
exact
just-
same thing.
Right, I mean, but the installation thing, that's kind of the issue to me with that. But
You're going
anyways,
to be able to play
let's-
streaming.
look,
Yeah,
So you start the
Yeah.
installation, you're going to be able to
I
play.
agree.
Like
We're getting mad at
You
Xbox.
guys are
and
defending Xbox.
No, but
set
you
up
guys,
all
yeah.
of these
We're getting
roadblocks.
mad
Xbox
about the
defense
Xbox. We're getting mad about the Xbox when we don't actually even have the hardcore specs or ideas of what we're even arguing about.
I know, but I think it's just the
you can't fault the
disappointment.
system without knowing the actual proof of what you're faulting it for.
let me throw out something that we can say or as a certainty, which is that Xbox One is not going to be backwards compatible at all with games. It's backwards compatible with movies, but not games.
Forward-looking console.
Hey, I just think it's
Yeah.
funny. No, so here's the quote from Don Matrick. He says, "If you're backwards compatible, you're really backwards." So that is the president of Microsoft.
Well, we all
Xbox
knew it
Edition.
wasn't going to be backwards
Confucius.
Yeah, that
compatible.
was-
That's
Kind of
look,
given.
I mean, they've been doing that for consoles for years. It's just depressing. 'Cause
but I'm more mad at Sony for it because they just made me buy all of my PS1 games again on the PS3, and now those aren't going to work
But they've
either.
been doing that with the XBLA too. Maybe you just didn't want the Xbox
Yeah.
games that have been coming out. They've been doing that, and you've been buying them for XBLA games, and you can't play any of those either.
Well, just put it
and,
this
and the
way.
problem to me with this, compared to any other generation cycle, is that this is the longest generation
Yep.
cycle we've ever had, and that's why it feels like a bigger issue than it ever was before.
Well, but going back to what Don
But that's
Matrick
PS4
said.
too.
Right, but going back to what Don Matrick said, they're supporting the 360 for another 5 years. They anticipate selling another 5 million
And
boxes.
Isn't it
that's
that
where you'll be
backwards
able to
thinking?
play it.
I mean,
Yeah.
but they'll get it down to it'll be a whole new SKU. I'll bet you $100, and I'll come back on the show
Yeah.
and pay you each. I think there's going to be a $100 SKU.
Everyone
announced
out
at
there on the
E3.
chat, you are our witnesses. I really need $100.
I'll
buy
include the
one.
chat
I'm
as
just
well if you want to do this. There's a new so come back. There's a new SKU announced at E3, and it'll probably be right in that $150 price point. It'll
That's
be a much
their
smaller
backwards
box.
compatibility.
I mean, exactly.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that than emulation because they threw out the emulation on the PS3 because it was like too much of a hassle. It was a whole extra chip they had to put in on it. And if I honestly, I've had better experience playing these arcade games, these digital distributed versions of my old favorites and classics on game systems like the Wii, on the PS3 and Xbox than I have putting the cartridge in the system.
Look, what I like
The
to
older
see
ones, especially.
is
It's hard to get those older cartridge systems to work. It's harder to get my old PlayStation 2 games to work on the PS3, and it's easier to play those versions of the downloaded versions. I've actually downloaded versions of PS2 games on the PS3, even though I have the disc and a backwards compatible.
Right, but
PS3.
XBLA is not backwards compatible either.
Yeah.
So I mean, what would be great is if they did something like the Wii U announced, where you can just transfer over everything. Or some way, or if you could at least re-download the games that you downloaded for XBLA for the Xbox One hardware, but nothing has been announced or confirmed for that. But if they did something like that, I'd be cool with it.
I think they will, because honestly, they know that that's where their core gamer is, and where most of their money was made was the digitally distributed games on Xbox Arcade. I think that all of those Xbox games are gonna be easily ported to the Xbox
But I find it
One.
very ironic with what you were saying, Patrick, that they are going to be supporting the Xbox 360 for another 5 years, yet they're talking about backwards compatibility being backwards. And to me, it's like, well, if you made some sort of emulator for your Xbox One, and there's all these great Xbox 360 games coming out, like Dark Souls 2 for me is coming out end of this year. then I'd be more inclined to just make the Xbox One my primary thing. Whereas now there's this great game I want that's for Xbox 360. I don't have as much reason to want to buy an Xbox One if it's not going to play this game. So to me, I think that's more... I don't know. I don't know if that's the... I know they want to support the 360 for all the people who already bought it since this has been such a long generation cycle. I understand that. But... I feel like they're almost hurting themselves in a way by doing this.
I don't think so at all. From a business perspective, I think it's genius, right? They've got an install base of 70 million already. So if you think they're doing this for the gamer, I think you're wrong. I think they're doing this for the developer.
And then they've given all the tools to the developer too.
Absolutely.
You can one of the best experiences I had recently on the PS3 was I have a PS Vita as well, and I cross-platform purchased Guacamelee and Sony was it PlayStation Battle Royale.
Yeah.
So I could play it on both systems. I only had to purchase it once. That is inherently available on Microsoft systems as well. So, I mean, the technology is there to make one purchase on the Xbox Live Marketplace and be able to play it. It's all up to the developers. Honestly, only a couple of developers have used it on the PlayStation. It's up to the developers to do this for the fans, and if they don't do it, Microsoft is still giving them all the tools to do it.
Going back to supporting the 360 for the next 5 years is extremely smart, because when I worked at EB Games for 4 years, when a new system came out, the older version of the system would sell like crazy. So...
Yeah, and it gets all those people. I mean, I think it introduces whole new users into that ecosystem, right? That are purchasing content on Xbox Live. I think from a strategic perspective.
Well, I'm more just talking about with the backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that backwards compatibility kind of doesn't go hand in hand with that, because then maybe if you're buying these new 360 games, you'd be less inclined to buy the new system. Because if you bought a PS3 when it first came out and all these great PS2 games were still coming out, you could still play those new PS2 games on your PS3.
Yeah.
If you bought the edition that let you do that.
Well, this is when the PS3 first came out. I'm talking about the first year when that was the only edition. Well, yeah,
No,
you're right. You had to pay $600 for it.
Yeah.
But it was still a way that you could buy those PS2 games and still enjoy them on your new console. When the 360 first came out, it was the same thing. You could still buy... They were still trying to support all the old Xbox games. So... in that regard,
and I was
you could still
playing
buy
more of them when I got my first Xbox 360. I was still holding on to my Xbox games. I was like, oh my god, I got to put the Hulk game in and I'm going to play it.
Sure, but I mean, time goes on. But I'm talking.
And now I don't.
But
like
during
my
that
my Xbox original games are sitting in a binder and I haven't touched them for over a year.
Right, but it's also been 6 years at this point. But I'm talking about this initial transition, this initial crossover. Maybe it's been longer than that. It could have been 8 years. Maybe it's 8 years.
Yeah, and the tech was a year old.
8 years.
Yeah, it has been. And the tech was a year old when it came out. So they're doing things like that. They're doing with like Metro and these new sexy games on like ostensibly 9-year-old tech. It's incredible.
This was 8 years ago.
It looks amazing.
Okay, so 8 years ago. But again, that was 8 years ago. So you're not playing your 8-year-old games, Grant, anymore today. But when it first made that transition and crossover, you wanted to be able to play those games on your new system. And I remember people being excited and thinking it was a big deal that you could or couldn't. That was a big deal 8 years ago for the first year or two when those good games were still coming out. So that's why I do think it is a relevant issue to talk about. I mean, look, them supporting the 360 for 5 years, that's great. I just think the fact that you can't play those 5 years of 360 games that are going to be coming out.
Sony ended up doing their PS3.
You will be able to play them. You'll play a better version of them. I mean,
it depends on I think it depends on the manufacturer, though.
We're also entering unprecedented territory here because the PS2 ended up being produced by Sony well after the PS3 came out.
Right.
Microsoft still has the ability to do that with the Xbox 360, like you were saying.
I think
new
they
SKU,
will.
lower price. I think we're going to enter a new era where you're going to have the Xbox One, and the Xbox 360 is still going to be a major part of your living room if you want.
And
you don't need to have the backwards compatibility, which hampers the system, makes it more expensive, and will basically cause more problems on the Xbox One.
Well, Dave, I don't think you're going to be missing out. Like with Watch Dogs, for example, is clearly a game that's coming out on the 360, but obviously the definitive version is going to be on the Xbox One. And so it's going to be really easy for these developers to say, hey, look, we're going to port this down to this huge and smart to do so. Why wouldn't you make it available to 70, 100 million?
Yeah, the only thing I want is them to make it easier to port.
Well, I think
which the previous gen was almost impossible.
Well, it depends on the game.
The PS4, the Wii U the PS3 and the Wii U are some of the hallmarks of like, oh, this was like incredibly hard to develop for, and like that's the reason why you're not seeing the games on it.
No, okay, but you're talking about right now the easeability of porting it for console game manufacturer
to
port it. But if it was that easy to port the game, because they got to switch over all these different hardware specs that they're using on the new Xbox One, so to port it now to a completely different operating system,
Right.
that's got to cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. So how many developers are going to be doing that?
All of them. All
You
of them.
think so?
Again, here's another $100 bet. All of them. It's
No,
a
but,
70.
but I think it depends on the game, and I think it
Okay.
depends on the developer. Like, yes, Activision, they're going to
Right.
be doing with their games
Sure.
because they can afford it.
Right.
So, but some of the smaller companies whose games you might support, like say last week we were talking about Xseed and we were talking now Marvelous Entertainment, I highly doubt they're going to be doing something like that
Sure.
because I don't think they can afford
But
it.
those games are going to be digital download. Those games that can't afford, those games that are only going to sell 300,000 units or a couple thousand units, they're going to be digital downloads instead. So you won't even have to worry about a disc. You won't have to worry about backwards compatibility because they're going to be available on the marketplace instead of a disc and buy at the store.
Do you guys, because I wrote this in the chat that it means nothing to me, even like that it's a home entertainment system, and Owen Harper agreed. Do you guys think that gaming aside, like the other specs that they have are really cool? Like you can do two things at the same time.
Yes.
And
The only thing that I
Yes.
thought that was really amazing was the HDMI pass-through, and this is just like a little nerdy thing for me because like I have like 10 devices at home connected to 2 different TVs.
Sure.
If I have if I have like an HDMI pass-through and my Xbox is the last stop on my like router of doom that leads all my devices to the
right.
TV,
Yep.
like, and I can like there's this little IR port on the back that I can hook up a blaster, and my Xbox can basically be like this switcher that switches my home entertainment unit to be whatever it wants to, a TV, a Blu-ray player, or my
Do we really need-
my PS4 or PS3 or whatever. I just think that like it's just like this is like a little tiny geeky thing of mine.
Right.
And it kind of is the doorway to them dominating the entertainment space because if they can take control of your DVR, if they could record stuff for you to watch later on, if they can keep track of what you're watching and like they
You know
can
what I
offer
see
you
this more
content
as?
based on it, that'd be pretty
I
interesting.
see this
Right.
more like, to me, when I saw this, when I saw them, the Xbox One reveal, to me it's more like they were announcing the new Apple TV.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it felt
Yeah.
like to me, is this is the new Apple TV with what they're trying to do about it. And I don't, and like you were saying, Rachel, and like you guys are saying, I honestly, I don't dislike anything they showed. I think it's all cool.
Yeah.
It's just nothing that, to me...
She's like, nope.
Okay, but
She's
to
like,
me,
no.
well, to me, I think it's all cool stuff, and I have nothing against any of it. It's just, to me, nothing that would sell a console for me.
I definitely like being able to switch and do
I
more
don't-
than one thing at a time
But
because
yeah,
there's
all this
tons
great.
of times.
I will openly accept any new feature that they have or innovation.
Right.
Oh my
Great.
god, it has
It's
it
just not
has
something
an
I'm going to
HDMI
spend a lot of money
pass-through.
on.
You could feasibly on a high definition TV use the HDMI pass through. It could like register the signal coming in. It could put the little TV in the box for you. You can watch TV and play a video game at the same time.
Or a
That would be
fact.
so
you might have like a
amazing.
walkthrough because you're stuck somewhere and you're trying to go around and finding all these
Yeah.
achievements. So you have the little screen with the walkthrough showing you how to get to secret places. This is amazing.
They should do it. I'm sure that
Mine
I hope they're
explode.
listening.
80, like, honestly, this is an 8-year
'Cause now I
cycle we're
don't have to
talking
have it on my
about. Some of this
iPad.
weird stuff, like
It's amazing.
I'm sure they've imagined it and built it
Absolutely.
in. They have all the hardware and all the tools available, and it's going to be up to the software, and they can update it. They can enable this stuff if they want to, I would assume.
So Lions fan on the chat says, I think these makers of the consoles are making the system as if it's the entire home entertainment system that is so disappointing. I mean, yeah, that's what they're doing. So either you like that or you don't, but that is what they're doing.
I was one of those detractors that was like, these cell phones with cameras, it's never going to catch on. Like 6 years ago, I was like, I have my DSLR and I have my phone and I want them to be separate. And boy, was I wrong.
I was
know.
like that too.
I was
I
like
love
that.
it. I love it.
I was like that too, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. So all this stuff I'm saying right now, in 6 years, I'll be like, what was I thinking?
Right.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
You'll still like it.
Well, and I think it's just an entry point. You remember when Xbox Live launched on the original Xbox, or even this generation, the 360 Live was a completely different beast than it is now.
Were you about to say Generama or
Probably, but I
I actually
just-
kind of like that better. I don't know why.
Use your words.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Xbox One. So let's move on to some other topics, which was
Someone is saying my sound is bad.
the
How dare
PlayStation.
they?
Yeah, apparently also the sound's just
How
low on the stream.
dare
Don't
Not
kiss
sure
your
why.
microphone,
Sorry, guys.
maybe? I don't know.
Say
Yeah,
what?
I think you
Kiss
sound
going
pretty
on?
sick.
So apparently Sony stock after the Microsoft reveal went up by 9.25%.
That's huge.
So right after the Xbox One reveal, does this say anything about the Xbox?
Yes.
No, wait, hold on. So
It was too early to judge.
it was kind of just ironic timing. It's more. This really has more to do with the Sony Entertainment, Sony Electronics split that we were talking about last week. It just happened to be funny timing. Like, oh,
These are money. This is money people making money, basically. These aren't gamers. These are money people using the news to take advantage.
Well, so they're basically
moving their money around.
So this has to do with Sony Electronics splitting from Sony Entertainment, which now sounds like actually is a pretty big feasibility to maybe happening because Sony Entertainment has been making up from Sony Electronics losses apparently. So we will see if that actually happens. Other story.
I figured out my mic problem. It's turned around.
Boom.
There
you go.
Okay. So, some E3 updates for you guys.
Oh, sexy.
Wow, you sound so much better.
I looked down and I couldn't see the logo. I
That was like
oh,
phone sex operator.
I've been
So what are
talking
you
to the back of
wearing?
my hand for the last
So
30 minutes.
so let's talk some Ouya. So, or E3, I should say, some E3. So I just found this funny, which is why I'm saying this.
This is weird.
Ouya is going to be in the parking lot of E3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they
Prime
still
real
trying
estate.
with that thing?
Yes.
Well,
Give
here's
it
what they're saying.
Give it up.
I can't wait to see what they do at E3 because like it's been such.
But they're
there's
not
been so
at
much
E3.
bad news
They're
for the last
outside
like 3
E3.
weeks.
Yeah.
Like
No.
I want to see what they're gonna do.
Right.
Like they're
Well,
gonna show me. Are they gonna show me highlights of the stuff that's been kind of like reported on as being bad?
They're kind of marketing those. You'll be able to demo your games to media, E3 attendees, and random people on the street. Ouya's E3 location will be 100% open to the public.
And the homeless.
I guess they
trying to
kind of need
positive-
it.
Have they not
Welcome
been to
to
downtown
downtown
Los
LA.
Angeles?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly,
a bad
Joe.
idea.
Right.
They're trying to give it a positive spin.
They
though.
might gonna
They
be
might
good.
need to do that free
They should be like
parking
just
lot
throwing
thing.
these out over the crowd. Like
Yeah.
these things are
In
tiny
those
enough.
T-shirt guns. Just
Yeah, here's the Ouya. Boom.
Knock someone out with that thing.
exactly.
I mean, we make fun of it, but we would all stop and see it if we were at
don't know.
And it's cheap enough that they could do it. They
I'm
should
gonna
be
walk
handing
right
them out.
past
They
it.
honestly should.
One of Grant and my coworkers got the Ouya. Jason, did you end up checking it out? Did he play it?
Oh, I have the Ouya too.
What do you think?
I like it, but like honestly, like the highlight of it is a highlight for me is what's gonna be adopted by Sony and Microsoft, and it's that more streamlined, two-dimensional user interface that is like much more responsive and more like easy to move around.
So our Burton on the chat says Ouya is tailgating E3.
His name is
Yeah,
Rich.
I like
That's
that.
Rich
Rich.
person.
Yeah. He's my friend.
So speaking of space at E3, everyone
like
was everyone was pretty concerned about Nintendo and what Nintendo's doing at E3. We finally got the layout of where all the booths are going to be, and Nintendo's E3 booth is just as big, if not bigger, than Sony's E3 booth.
It's always big.
It's
just
always,
like,
yeah.
But I mean, the fact
God.
is they're still having a presence. That's the point. And on Twitter, Nintendo of America, at Nintendo of America, tweeted out, "Hello, we already announced we will have another
Hello.
at E3. Hello, hello. We already announced that we will have another at E3, but now we can share the date, time." June 11th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. It's pretty early.
The line is going to
but
be
that's after-
ridiculous.
But that's after
Do you think it will
the
be?
show,
Do you think
isn't
people
it?
To
actually
get into
care?
the
This is 7
Nintendo
a.m.
booth, to get
Yeah,
into
but
the
June
Nintendo
11th,
booth at
that's after the
E3,
show.
huh? No, the Nintendo booth at E3 is always one
No,
of the
June
hardest to
11th
get
and
into.
13th, I think.
It's insane, but are they relevant anymore? Like,
Yes,
does anybody...
they are.
Okay.
I like my
okay.
Nintendo.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Rachel
I
and
don't want to fight. I don't want to cry in
so
front
well
of these
at
guys. I
E3.
think you'd win.
Rachel and I are big Nintendo fans over here.
They always do
Well, you can
really
be
well at
fans.
E3. You can walk around Sony, Microsoft just fine, but at Nintendo, there's lines and
My
it's just
favorite booth
massive.
at E3 is EA's booth. Because it doesn't matter what games they're showing, what they've done the last couple years is they've raised the booth off the show floor probably about a foot or a couple of inches, and the subwoofers that they put in the stage make it so that once you step into their space, all the sound and like the screens that they have there are rumbling with the floor. And
Shakes your soul.
very few other companies have really like gone to the such lengths to create such an immersive booth experience. Like there's certain
I like
games every once in a
Bethesda's
while that try
last
to do
year.
it.
So
They had the
Sensory
big
overload.
dragon. Oh, but I mean, 2K had the huge giant songbird that you could pose in his
Yep.
hand, and
So-
I like those things.
So Grant, Mugglemind's excited because he can hear your sound all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Wow.
sexy voice.
Howdy, everybody.
So, Nintendo Direct, they're going to be having it. I think June 11th is actually Tuesday. I think that's the Tuesday,
so-
first day of
wait,
E3.
Yeah,
I wanna
the day
know why-
before the first.
I
It's
wanna
not
ask
the Monday press day, but it's
Press
Tuesday.
day is Monday.
Press day is
Tuesday's
Monday,
the
but
first day of
Tuesday's the
E3.
first day of E3. It's going to be in the morning before that all starts. Tuesday morning, 7 a.m.
Let me ask the Nintendo
I
contingent.
said my body was
Sunday
ready,
before
but I'm not
E3, we're
ready.
going to Disneyland. Just saying.
If you're Nintendo, this Nintendo fan club over here,
Yeah.
what's the strategy? What do you do at E3 to differentiate yourself? Because you can't go.
Games. It's all about
It's-
games.
Yeah, games. I mean, for me, it's always like I honestly every Zelda game that's coming out, I've loved. Every real Mario game. I don't count New Super Mario Bros.
Yeah,
U.
those are
But like the
co-op.
real big Mario
If
games,
they
those have been
announce a
big.
Zelda game, it doesn't matter.
A new Metroid game,
Xbox
Smash
One,
Brothers.
PS4 could be there. The Xbox One could be there. If they announce a new Zelda game for the Wii U, and the Wii U I've already kind of written off. It's
A
like
new
my
Mario
console.
game.
Like,
Yeah.
I would be sitting
you
there in the
should.
Nintendo booth,
but you have to
like
keep-
at the press conference. I'll be going like, "Holy shit!
But you
This
have
is
to-
what I came for."
But you have to keep in mind they haven't had any console sellers yet on the Wii U, so they might finally announce some console
I want a new
sellers.
or they're
Mario
just like
game.
wrap it up. They're
I
like,
think
"Oh, we're
I
done."
want Mario
Yeah.
Sunshine 2.
Meet
Mario
the new
Sunshine 2.
Sega.
I know they're trying.
I'm with you.
I know they're trying, but E3 aside, even like
Are the-
Nintendo Direct is. I like Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So,
I
aside
still
from
think
that-
it's cool, and I think it's for people in this
need
room.
new
But I mean,
frongs or
can
frames or
that
whatever they
sustain
were.
this console? Can those tent poles? Can the Mario? Can the
Yes.
Zelda?
Yeah.
How
They
many
would
times
have
could-
been
Always
able to
will.
do it if
It's a
they were.
complete family
Always will.
console. There's tons of family people
Okay.
that
I
want
mean,
to go with it.
also like
I'm rooting
Nintendo
for it.
Land.
I don't like a world where there's no Nintendo.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I'm producing. I don't like that world. I'm not buying it, but I
like
don't
that
like. It
world.
needs to be.
But I mean, like Nintendo Land was actually a lot of fun.
I
if you
adore
played it. It was
Nintendo
a great
Land.
game. But yeah, I don't know what the Wii U honestly can do to market itself further, other than just announcing some great first-party games and hopefully saying, "Hey, guess what? We have third-party support again. All that third-party support that dropped out, we have it. It's
There's
back."
only
Yeah,
one
I-
company, EA. Only one company out of those
And
lists
Avalanche Studios.
came back.
Oh, I wasn't saying came
I'm
back.
saying so. Only one company out of those like 3 or 4 that we've been listing over the last couple weeks actually came out last week and said, "Oh, okay, we aren't completely negating the Wii U development," and that was EA. EA says, "Okay, yes, we do actually have some in development. We're just not close to releasing."
I don't know what's more depressing:
Those
the lack of
liars.
third-party support, or those new
and then
those new
Ubisoft.
commercials. Where like, hey, it's an upgrade. Have you seen the Wii U? It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade.
Oh,
that
yeah,
the
yeah.
family's
Oh, or the
playing.
fact that on the Wii they have to advertise
it's
it
so
too.
depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the Wii, they're trying to advertise on the Wii. Like,
Yeah.
Did you know there's a new Wii U out
Yeah.
on your Wii? But
Yes, yes,
I think
did.
it was a major mistake, honestly, because
a lot of people
like,
don't though. Actually, a lot of people don't realize there's a new Wii.
they needed to differentiate it even more, and those advertisements didn't do enough to make me think like,
Please
oh,
buy me.
it's like-
Please buy me.
Yeah.
Please buy it.
I mean, it almost seems like whenever they've done advertisements like that, it's for like the Nintendo 64, which had that little like chip that you could add
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
Like, don't you know it's available? You needed to play this game, or it comes with this game, and like you needed to experience it better. And it almost seems like that's what their entire scheme is centered around. It's like, oh, come on, don't you know?
There was
I
a
should have
big
known, but I
Wii U
didn't.
thingamajigger at downtown Disney yesterday.
Owen Harper from the chat
What was
is.
that?
I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
Patrick.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh no.
You could
the
play it.
wrath is coming. I'm feeling it.
I think it's
At
also
Disney.
the
Disney
fact
Infinity.
that they're going direct to their fans. I think that already sets them apart from other companies. I like being intimately aware of what's going on, as I've always been crappy at keeping up with press.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right. I honestly, I know we've argued about it, but I
Thank you
think
for that.
I think the Best Buy thing is a good idea, and I know we argued about it, but
Yeah,
I
Best
actually
Buy.
do think the
I
Best Buy
kind of
thing is a
liked
good
it. I
idea.
knew it was
I think so.
No,
smart.
but they had big stands at Disneyland yesterday. You could play all sorts of games. They had like the Wario Game & Watch thing. They had
Game of Wario.
yeah,
Oh, I
that.
want
They had
That's
that
another game I
there.
want.
They had tons of games just all in these huge booths right outside downtown or in downtown Disney
If you need
yesterday.
any Disneyland questions, Rachel's the place to go.
Yeah. I knew I'd find a way to
Happy
twist
place
that
first.
Disneyland in today's show.
It's the
Knew it.
AfterBuzz drinking game. Every time she mentions Disney, just throw another.
Oh my
back.
god!
So let's.
I've been blackout
Just
drunk by the time.
Just wasted.
So another company that's live streaming is going to be Square Enix. Instead of having their normal booth, they're going to be live streaming from E3. From the show floor. So
Is anyone still going to be working there by the time E3 comes around?
Right.
A good question.
that is a good question. So well, let's go ahead and talk on it now. Just the fact that the president, it was just announced. Apparently, it's a month ago, but the president quit. President of Square Enix.
Yeah.
So to go work at Amazon Japan.
Oh yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, hey,
that's a step
that's
up.
a good.
Go Japan.
Freaking Amazon.
Well, lately with Square Enix. So yeah, so. Square Enix, we keep on hearing all these negative things. Every week after week is something new with Square Enix, which is pretty depressing. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think they're
Well,
on their way
Despite
out.
making unbelievable games, Hitman was incredible. Tomb Raider is one of the best games I've played in the past years.
What?
I love Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
I'm with
It
you.
was forgettable.
I loved it. But
It was forgettable.
even better, Deus Ex Human Revolution
A
was
fantastic
amazing.
game. I actually will say,
You didn't like Deus Ex?
Oh, I love Deus Ex.
She's just frowning about
Oh,
Tomb
okay. I
Raider.
thought you were
You're
saying.
giving this like look. I'm like Deus Ex Human Revolution.
I still
Come
was
on.
thinking Tomb Raider. I love
All these
Deus
games
Ex.
are
Yes.
good. I'm still, I mean, like we've talked about it a lot. I cannot understand why these games did badly, other than maybe a lackadaisical marketing
and that's
push.
that's the problem with the industry as a whole, right? I mean, they didn't do badly. Tomb Raider sold like near 4 million units. You know, Sleeping Dogs was a surprise at 2.5 million units.
Sell like
but
7,
it's a function
8.
of expectations, right? And they set that expectation far too high for their stockholders, and I think that's what hurts my soul a little bit because moment to moment, I loved Tomb Raider, maybe even more than
I
Bioshock
loved it.
Infinite.
I did too.
What?
I did too.
No. We
I
can't
did
go
too.
there.
Bioshock's the better
You
game.
had a moment. You had a moment, but then.
And then I just
then it's gone, and then it's
gone.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I think the gameplay in Tomb Raider is better
But
designed.
100%. I liked Bioshock a little more. I got to represent, but
like,
It hurts so bad.
Bioshock, the original, was way better, but Infinite.
it's like
all
a
right.
poison.
Oh God.
Sorry.
God.
Sorry. So let's jump on to with that some positive news, which would be our gaming moments of the week. And with that, let's go ahead and start to my left.
Really?
yeah. All right.
I think it's pretty predictable, but you guys, because I pointed
Another
out.
photo shoot.
No, the teaser last week. This week, of
Oh, yeah,
course,
the
it
full- the
has
full
to be the full trailer of
That's pretty cool.
Batman Arkham Origins. It's a long,
Yeah.
like,
Wish we had
5-minute
played for
trailer,
you.
so I just wanted to put a little bit. This time around, it's going to be made by, obviously WB Montreal.
WB Games, yeah.
And not Rocksteady. It'll be different. So it looks a little different, and they have, like, cool
This is all
gadgets.
cinematic. This is all.
This is all
blur.
cinematic, but still. It totally makes me excited
That's
about it.
always the
Cautiously
hard
optimistic about this?
I am optimistic about it. How about you?
Yeah, 100%. I actually, especially with all the messaging coming out of WB saying that they're lending them assets and they're helping support them, I'm actually very excited about this game.
Wait, this is
Yay.
not gameplay.
It's Batman.
No, this is like, it looks like a movie.
No, this does not count as a game trailer. No.
I mean,
no gameplay.
You
There's a
bought
lot
Dead
of-
Island.
there's a lot of badassery
did.
in this trailer, though, right?
It's
I did
we're
like
at
the
the
Sky-
days
I
It
did
where
makes
did
me
like the
want to
Skyrim
play it.
trailer.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
I can't wait to
gameplay
be this
trailer.
character and play it.
we're at the days that if you can't show gameplay in your trailer, then I'm not interested.
There will be a gameplay trailer eventually.
be.
Hey, we're months out. Come on, give them a
No.
break.
It's a PR cycle.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Rachel. I always wait for the gameplay. Look, I'm excited. I want to see the new Batman because the last Batman Arkham City and Asylum
They
were
want a
great.
link to the trailer.
But it's very
in
hard.
the chat.
I will send a link.
It's very hard for me
Kaori
to
is
get
going to
excited
get
when
you
there's
a
no
link to the
gameplay
Yeah,
for me to know how to play.
I'm with you.
But
But still, it's Batman.
Yeah,
you
they
could
have
show me a Batman
Deathstroke,
logo,
Black
and I'm like,
Mask.
okay.
Come on.
Oh.
And there's the reveal.
There's Batman. All right, so
There's a hottie.
with Batman's reveal, let's move on to Grant's moment of the week.
I'll give this a second to wind down.
For the explosion.
Maybe.
Wait for the explosion.
But,
Explosion.
Boom.
Slow
and that is
motion explosion.
that is indicative of
Which are the best kind, John?
yeah.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Grant, moment
Let's
of
do
the
that.
week.
Okay, my moment of the week is gonna take a couple seconds for John to get this up.
We can go ahead and
It's
start
the
talking about it,
League
right?
of Legends Twist of Fate cinematic for League of Legends.
So yet another trailer.
One of
Today's
the most
Boom.
popular characters in League
Welcome
of
to the trailer
Legends.
segment.
Players that play, this character can most often be a
Wait, this isn't gameplay either. This
no,
is a
this is not
cinematic.
gameplay, but they have kick-ass cinematics. This
What's
I
character,
like how you're
wrong with
harping on Kaori for showing a
Wait,
cinematic, and then you show a
The
cinematic.
famous character is Matrim Khathun from The Wheel of Time. That's where we're going?
No.
Oh, that's Matt. That is straight
this
up Matt.
character is most
that would be
often
amazing, John.
associated with like players that play Twisted Fate. They control other people because they can get around the map very quickly. They also have very far-ranging ranged attacks in League of Legends. So Twisted Fate is kind of this like character who hassles other people in the game and is a carry character. People have been waiting to see some of these trailers out of Riot because the original trailers for the game only show a handful of the now expansive list of characters that they have, and this kind of gives a moment for some of the like characters that weren't shown in the original trailer to
It's
shine.
amazing to me how big Riot has gotten in the past 6 years, because I remember talking to them, interviewing them, I think at PAX 6 years ago when they were very first starting, and everyone was like, oh, it looks like Dota, it's pretty cool, and now it's just completely blown up, and it's pretty much the e-game or the e-tournament, e-sport game that everyone plays. So it is amazing to see what they've done with LoL. But with that, Rachel, what is your moment of the week.
My moment of the week, oh man, that's hard because the game I've been playing, I'm not allowed to talk about yet. I can say that I've been playing Fuse, but I can't tell you what I think about it until tomorrow.
Well, apparently it's your gaming moment of the week, so...
Yes, so I'm going to give a shout out to Minecraft because it was my most played game last year, according to Raptor.
And the PC version.
I love that I can still play it and still have just as much fun as the first time, and it's always like this world that is constantly changing and exciting. Right now, my house is apparently full of cats.
Yeah, I saw that picture
And
you
we got a
posted.
strip club. I'm
I saw
excited
that
to
picture
check
you
out the
posted.
strip
You
club.
got much further than I ever got in the game, and now you have like pets and stuff.
Yeah, you can have cats, you can have dogs.
As long as your house isn't full of creepers.
No, dear God, no.
You just walk in your house, you're like, no!
Boom, boom.
We have an alarm system in our town so that when an enemy does get close to our city, we went into this city and there were like the villagers there and we
Oh yeah, you said
slaughtered
this.
all them.
You like to rape and kill all the people
raped
right
and
off the
pillaged
bat.
the whole city and then we took it
What was
over
this
as
like
our
the
own.
first 10 minutes you played the game?
Probably, yeah.
Oh god.
And then we've got like a strip club and an alarm system and a farm and it's amazing.
So just to recap, the first thing you did, you ran in there off a ship, proceeded to kill, rape, maim everything in sight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the first thing you built after that was a strip club.
With cats.
Well, we built houses.
Cat strip
A
club?
cat strip club.
We built houses first. We had to make sure our
Pussy
houses were
palace.
good.
Rachel, you're officially a Viking
TM.
now. You are
Nicely
an
done.
internet Viking. Congrats.
That's what you do in Minecraft.
No, that's
Wow, I
what you
haven't
do
played
in
Minecraft in a long time. It's completely changed.
I dig
Minecraft
down
is
as far as I
amazing.
possibly
Building
You can do
things and trying to
anything.
create like a utopia, you're just like, I want to go back to the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
They kept coming in my house without my permission. I'd try to sleep, and the
cats or the villagers?
No, the villagers, and they'd come and watch me sleep. So of course I'm
Whoa,
gonna kill
wait,
them.
what?
Well,
Yeah, they were totally creepy.
People come and watch you sleep?
The
yeah,
villagers
they can
will.
open doors,
They
that's
just
why.
walk into your house and like be really creepy, and so I had to kill them. I had enough.
Them.
I'd had enough.
This is very different than when I play Minecraft, and just my only goal was building a staircase.
Right.
Now apparently you're raping and pillaging
whole different
with
game.
cats.
Hey, the
Yes.
most recent expansion, cat rapage pillage.
Yeah.
no,
what
no
Notch always
raping the
wanted to
kitties.
create.
No.
No, the cats do the raping.
And the villagers kept humping my sheep, and I was just not down for that.
What is going on
Yeah,
in
this is a whole
Minecraft?
other.
what
I've been away
server
far
are
too long.
you playing? Oh,
Wow. Okay.
Rachel plays messed up versions of
Best
Minecraft.
game ever.
So you downloaded
And
the
then,
wrong
Rachel,
mods,
do you then go do
basically.
surgery on them? Anybody?
Oh, God.
Rachel's version of surgery?
I wish I could.
Bash them on the
yes.
head with a
Yeah.
hammer.
All right, so let's go. I'll go ahead and jump on my moment of the week, which is this is from the new Daft Punk album, and I actually haven't listened to the new Daft
I
Punk
haven't
album
either.
at all.
Everybody's telling me I've got to listen to it.
But I heard
Passable.
this, which is an 8-bit, literally a 8-bit version of Daft Punk by Joe Jeremiah,
if it's gonna play,
which
there it goes.
Grant's pulling up there.
Not me.
And I love chiptunes, so this guy does some awesome chiptunes. And he basically just took a bunch of the songs from Daft Punk
Look at his sweet, sweet
from
tie.
the new album.
That's
Yeah.
true. Thank
Ty's been on Think Geek for
I
the
know.
last like 10 years.
I want that
That
tie.
tie's been around longer than the
He's got
Xbox
the
360.
8-bit glasses too from Think
Yeah, he's got the 8-bit glasses. But it's just like awesome hearing him turn an entire album into an 8-bit song, which is pretty amazing to me. And I don't know what the actual songs sound like, but it makes me
You don't know what this
interested.
song sounds like?
This is
No.
the
I don't either.
Pharrell. This is the Pharrell song.
Yeah.
What was it? I can't remember.
I'll send it to you, Dave.
It's up right there in the corner.
I just
Well,
like
I
how
can't
I
see
haven't
the
heard it.
corner.
unemotional
lucky.
he is about
That
it.
is your fault. No, or probably mine, actually. Let's not place blame anymore. Let's continue on.
Yeah,
But
your fault.
That is my moment of the week. So that's by Joe Jeremiah. If you guys want to look it up on YouTube, A-bit of Daft Punk. If you guys want to check that out.
I'm sure
Very
if you
cool,
searched
man. Very cool.
Yes.
I like it.
non-dash bit, it would
All right.
show up as well.
So Patrick, what is your moment of the week?
So I tell you what, my moment of the week would be Metro Last Light. So
Oh, I want to play it.
so you know at the beginning of the year, I don't know about you guys, but I get a sense of what I'm going to play and what I'm really going to enjoy. Like
Yeah.
I knew I'd play BioShock, I knew I'd love it. I knew I was going to play Tomb Raider. It did exceed expectations, but this is one of these. I know, just give me the evil eye. This is a game that kind of came out of nowhere, right? So I'd seen some reviews. It looked like it was trying to do something a little interesting, and I was like, we'll give it a shot. And this game absolutely floored me. So it does the thing that BioShock does. It's front loaded with a ton of exposition. It's like 30 minutes where you just get to soak in the world and feel this level of desperation before you ever even pull the trigger. I was really wholly impressed by just how how tense this game is. So for those people that don't know, it takes place in post-nuclear apocalypse Russia, and the entire thing's in the subway. And so one of the interesting things is the in-game economy is actually bullets. You have regular type of bullets that you shoot people with, but then you have these military-grade bullets that serve as cash. Now you can load them into your weapon if you're in a desperate situation.
Didn't load them once.
Didn't? Okay.
Spent them on ammo and guns and attachments for the guns.
Okay. You're better at games than me because I'm like,
no, I died a lot. I didn't use the weapon. Didn't use the military grade ammo.
They create like systemized desperation because you get to a point where you're on the surface and you've got a gas mask on and you're wiping it, and your blood would hit it, and you're wiping it, and then people are coming from everywhere, and I'm out of regular ammo, and so I have so little. I have to put potentially like my meal into my gun, and I load my food for later to get myself out of a situation. You don't literally eat, but I'm saying it's your currency, and I'm literally shooting money to stay alive.
I was searching everywhere. The 13 to 16 hours I played the game, I was searching everywhere for the filters. And there's a point in the game, I don't know, like from where you are, you probably have encountered that long stretch of wilderness where there's very few people to fight, and it's mostly just the creatures, and they don't have the filters.
No, they do not.
So you're basically running around, and you start out with like about 13 minutes of breathable air, and then you venture out into the wilderness, and you just see that number go down and down and down, and you haven't found a filter. And I actually almost came, like I died a lot, but I came close to suffocating the most.
Well, it's amazing to me how Metro Last Light kind of just came out of nowhere. And there's been previous Metro games before. I don't think any of them necessarily were big deals. Nobody really talked about them. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing Last Light. It's getting great reviews. So this one kind of just came out of nowhere.
Well, I kind of fell victim to that whole THQ thing, right? So, when THQ went under, it was right about a point where it was going to be released. They were picked back up, and then, it was pushed a little bit. But, I mean, really came out of nowhere. The level of world building that they do, this game is incredibly polished, and it's more than a competent shooter. It's a really good mechanically, the mechanics in the shooting are fantastic. So I couldn't recommend it highly.
Is there a level up system at all?
No, but there's
one thing that both of you might be interested to know is that there is a hidden morality system. So in order to get the proper ending and not to spoil it, you're going to have to pay attention to these cues. There's some visual and audio cues in the game, and there are certain things that you need to experience in the game, and there are certain ways that you need to treat some action moments. Like there's going to be some choices that you make later in the game. You haven't gotten to them yet. You haven't played it at all.
All right, well, stop spoiling it.
No, I'm just saying. Choices.
No,
there's choices you're making. I'm just saying, in order to experience the best ending, and I spent 16 hours playing this game, you don't want to spend another 16 going back to play it again and make these choices again. Listen for some bells and some white flashes.
Stop ruining
in the game.
everything.
I'm not ruining the game.
You're ruining
everything. Listen for bells and listen for white flashes because they let you know that something important is nearby and to experience it. And that way you'll be able to make the proper choice at the end.
How? Like,
the following spoilers are brought to you courtey of Grant Kohrmann of Los Angeles, California.
I'm
what I think was interesting too, they kind of do this whole the monsters on the surface aren't the only enemies, right? There's these different factions underground, and you see the levels that people are able to go to. I mean, akin to The Walking Dead, right? Where you almost forget sometimes that there are zombies, is that people can be potentially incredibly low too.
I love that game.
It just drips of atmosphere. I
You're
can't
desperate to find the filters, and these people that you encounter, most of them are pretty desperate.
Yeah. Right. Well, it looks incredible, and I want to get it now at this point, or borrow it and not pay a $60 fee.
I'm getting GameFly.
That's a good callback.
It's on my GameFly.
So let's go ahead and get to a couple stories because we're going a little long here, and we'll try and wrap it up quickly. So Curiosity finally ended yesterday morning, and I don't know. I have to admit I was curious what was at the end of Curiosity. I liked your tweet, Grant, about what it was. You want to go ahead and say what that was?
I didn't see that anybody had responded to it.
What is Curiosity?
I said, what was it that I said? I said, I like what was finally at the center of Curiosity is a little tiny Molyneux dressed in a black suit.
So
it's like life-changing.
So Curiosity is a game that was on mobile devices like iPad, iOS. You could play. I don't know if you could play on your computer.
Was that the game? No, that was Candy Store.
You literally just tap on a box, on a cube, and you start like peeling off layers of this cube. But it was like millions of people would play it together online because there were so many pixels, and you were literally tapping away the pixels. And until one layer of the cube is tapped away at, you can't start tapping away at the next layer of this cube. And there's something at the end of this box inside, and we don't know what it is.
Farmville.
Right, so it's like a three-dimensional box that people all around are just tapping away at, chipping away at to try and see what's inside of this box. And it was a Peter Molyneux game. and it was just basically made to advertise Godus, which is his next game. But at the very center of the box, only one person would get it and get to see it of all these millions of people chipping away. And some secret message was going to be sent to them, and they could do whatever they wanted with it. They could reveal it to people. They could keep it to themselves. They could do whatever they wanted, but only one person got to see of these millions of people what was inside of this box.
What was it?
It was a picture. It was
Peter
a video.
Molyneux.
Peter Molyneux. He's like 3 inches tall, standing on a huge 60-foot stage, telling you that you're going to be able to play the god of all people in the next game, Godus.
That was it?
Well, okay, there's more
For
to
the
it.
most part.
There's more
There's money. They also participate financially in the game's sales.
Well, there's more to it.
He'll
So
get
he
a
actually
certain amount of money back for each game that's
I
sold.
feel like
Now-
Peter
well, hold
Molyneux
on.
could release a version of tic-tac-toe, and we'd all be just transfixed by it. Well, this is amazing.
Well, no, so
He
Rachel looks so
honestly could.
disappointed.
He could
Hold
find
on,
a way to do
hold
it.
on. So Peter Molyneux said it was going to transform the person's life who won. That's all he said about it. So the winner was Brian Henderson from Edinburgh, Scotland, and basically what this does is more than just makes you the god of his new game.
Yeah.
It's basically it brought this kid immediate internet fame because this is an 8-year-old random kid from Internet Scotland.
Oh no, the 8-year-olds
Everybody
in
knows
control of the game.
Everybody knows who he is.
I didn't know he was 8 years old.
He 18. 18 years old.
I thought you said 18.
Oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant 18. He's an 18-year-old.
Oh, thank God he's an adult. He can make decisions.
Well,
Legally.
He's
somewhat
an
adult.
adult Scotsman, so you know, let's.
But so he's
not
18.
get ahead of
He's been
ourselves.
drinking anyways if he's 8 and he lives in Scotland.
Yeah, 100%.
But so he's the god of the game. He's going to actually be making finances for every sale of the game. He actually makes a portion of it.
Yeah.
And he got immediate internet fame. So if you think about it, it kind of Peter Molyneux argues it did transform this kid's life.
That
Everybody knows who he
bastard.
is. He's making
I
money.
love how he's able to say it transformed
And-
this kid's life, even though it hasn't happened yet. Technically, the game hasn't come out.
Everybody
He doesn't
knows.
have
Do you know
control.
who he is?
Sure.
I
He
know
hasn't
who
gotten
he
a
is.
dollar
I've
from the
never heard
game,
of him.
and we don't know the extent of what kind of control he's
They're-
going to have.
they're
So
lucky
basically,
transformed his
he
life.
clicked the
They're
last
lucky
box,
that
and that's
he's
it.
old enough to be legal, though, that it wasn't some, 8-year-old.
Oh yeah, but literally though,
Which makes it weird.
Did you
because,
have-
what if
think
it
about
was?
that.
Did you have-
No.
Could they legally done,
I think the participation agreement said
Yeah.
that,
It
would've had to be
you
the
couldn't-
parents.
You could, yeah. I don't think you
The
could participate
parents?
it completely. in it
I
if
guess
you were
that he
a
told his
minor.
parents right away. He told everybody right
No,
away.
I mean, if he was
Why?
underage,
Oh, yeah.
parents would have to
I'm
come
sure.
into play.
You know what I was thinking though? What this guy could have done was try to just sell the information
Yeah,
off to
I'd
people.
take it to the grave. Yeah,
or just been like, if you want to know
Yeah.
what it was, what's your offer to every media outlet
Put
out
it on
there?
eBay.
What's
Oh,
your
yeah,
offer? And
there you
try
go.
to
Well,
build up.
that's the difference between
But
an
the thing
18-year-old
Right,
and
right.
They promised
And
him
an
money in the video.
entrepreneur. Right.
Well, yeah, he will be making money
Yeah.
too. He's making money for free.
It
by
was
this
controlled.
happening.
It was it was
He
a
got money
controlled
for
marketing
tapping something.
experiment,
Rachel's
and
disgusted.
it went
She's
in
just
their
like-
it went to their favor.
Well, I mean, it's basically like
That
winning the
sounds funny,
lottery. That's the
actually.
comparison. It's like you won the lottery in a way. It's like a random thing.
Oh,
You
and
won the
then,
lottery.
honestly,
I just feel
like,
bad because he started
was it
playing the
Arburton?
last
Who was
hour.
Arburton again?
I think he's.
Rich Arburton says in the
Yeah.
chat that what if the game is going to be canceled now?
it still changes his
that
life.
would suck.
I think.
So
Well,
apparently
now he's not
everyone.
gonna get any money.
Everyone on the chat is saying I did say 8 for the age. I'm sorry,
Oh.
it was 18. But I mean, apparently, well, now I am brain farting, Owen Harper. Now that he says stop brain farting. I wanted to say something really badly, and now I can't remember what it was.
Maybe I'll come back to you.
I hate that.
No, let's just move on.
All right.
So that's it. So Atari's going to bankrupt. It's a happy thing to move on to.
Oh.
So they are $22.2 million is what they want to make. So another company going down. And final thing I want to mention is Halo was announced is having a TV show. I'm sure Rachel's a
that
big
was
fan.
weird.
Yeah, I think that's the least talked about point from that thing. That
Yeah.
TV gaming
Yeah,
confluence
Steven
was
Spielberg
insane.
shows up and he's like, "Hey, guess what? I'm gonna get in on this new Halo TV show."
Right.
And it's like,
The movie was bad enough.
That just totally confirms that it's an entertainment system.
Well, but like,
Just
what was the Remedy game? Quantum
Leap?
Yeah, no.
No, Quantum.
Best show ever.
See,
Quantum
worst
Leap.
name for a game that you just put
That was
quantum on it.
Quantum
It just
Physics
screams
or something.
generic.
Brain fart
Scott
number 2.
Bakula.
Quantum Break.
Yeah.
Right? Did you see the live action in that
Kevin
trailer
Carrera
too?
was advertising that game, I think, right?
I don't know. I just saw the live action piece of it and then gameplay and that weird TV game confluence just really threw me
The
for a
Halo
loop. at
movie
this.
was bad enough. It was not good.
Steven
I
Spielberg
don't-
doesn't do spectacular with TV anyways. His
"Did you watch
that Terra Nova didn't do well.
Oh no! But you know
Yeah.
the lady that they hired was the
Lily's
one that
movies
brought.
haven't either.
And her name escapes me, but
The
the
one on
executive that they
Netflix?
brought
Yeah,
on
the
from
girl from,
CBS
what's her
was the
name?
one that really
Lemony
took
Snicket?
them from like 3rd to 1st place. So she's got a real good
No,
wait,
pedigree
no.
of building quality television.
Yeah.
Why are you guys having a mini conversation
We're
on the side? You're in the middle of hosting a show.
We're talking about the Halo movie.
I will say
So
this.
talk about it
It's
here.
on Netflix.
You have a
I
mic.
played,
And it's
I played,
bad.
Regulate, Dave.
I played Defiance,
Yeah.
and I talked about how it linked to the TV show in my review, and how I thought that it we talked about it here on the last couple episodes, how it may or may not work as far as it's like they're going to elevate a character from the game into the TV show, and if stuff that happens in the TV show will affect the game, of course, because that's all linear and planned out. I don't know how it's going to work for Destiny. I don't think it's a good idea for games like Halo to do this, because what if it's just like Defiance and it really gets that lackluster reception from the audience and it's not as successful as they thought it was going to be?
You guys don't like video games turned into movies, so what do you guys think of?
I'm waiting for a good one. That's
Right.
I'm
And
not
the same
saying
thing
that
with the TV
I
show,
haven't
though.
said. Let's just put it this
No.
way: whenever they say video game into movie, I'm worried, but I'm not saying like automatically I'm gonna.
I mean,
hate it.
I watch all of them, even though I know they're gonna be crappy.
I think putting a video game into a TV show or movie is having to dumb it down, and dumbing down something is never.
Yeah, and that's what
It's
happened
just a completely
with
different
Defiance,
medium.
is like the TV characters
I don't think it's completely
appear in the
different medium.
video
I think it
game,
is.
and they are so much less. I mean, they're as dynamic as any other character that's made the transition. I will say that, but they're still lacking.
Well, I think
compared
it's
to-
because when you play a video game, no matter how linear it is, everybody has a different experience with the game, with the story, and with the characters. So when you do try to pull it down into a show or a movie, that is only one adventure, and people won't have the same
Yeah.
experience.
So
Therefore, it
Hayden
just doesn't
agree with
work.
you.
Hayden Gorange on the chat being facetious, but it's developed by Steven Spielberg. Didn't you hear from the video? He played Pong. He's such a gamer. He understands me.
So let me ask you this: do we know if it's going to be behind a paywall on Xbox Live? Is that where that's going to air?
We don't know.
We
That'd
don't
be
know.
a good
Good point.
idea.
But I mean, so that changes the
'Cause I'd
value.
watch it.
Right, that changes the value proposition for Live a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more attractive for me to fork over for that.
But,
But
okay,
Hayden, don't worry, because honestly, I was watching an interview with J.J. Abrams saying that aren't you excited to watch? Aren't you excited to direct the Star Wars movies and the Star Trek movies? And he was saying that he hasn't watched one of these franchises.
That can't be a thing.
Yep.
No,
I think
way.
Star Wars
I
he
heard that
watched, not
too.
Star Trek though.
Yeah,
He doesn't
Trek.
like Star Trek.
All of his buddies were excited that he was going to be working on the film,
Death.
but he hadn't watched them himself.
Okay,
I don't
so
know. I'm
Steven
using
Spielberg
all of
doesn't
my
have
RAM
to have played
process that
games.
fact.
Steven Spielberg doesn't have to play games to make a great
I disagree.
Halo TV show.
Disagree.
okay, so
No,
quick other story that I want to bring out just because it's funny to me. A research story. Professor Dong Wang Cho of Chungbuk Provincial College.
Best name ever.
Yeah, he wins.
He's a South Korean.
Game's over.
It's Asian,
So,
okay.
South Korean professor. He had a study that violent video games make graphic cards run hot and emit more radio waves. Thus, he argues, it means that violent video games are more harmful to the body.
How does that even make sense?
Great research. Thank you
My
there.
mind
That's all I
is
gotta
melting
say.
because of what he said.
Well, some of his
not
other
my hot graphics.
Apparently, he also researched that how drinking for 3 days straight will cause liver damage. How
No kidding.
How watching
Wow, what a rocket scientist.
how watching porn will cause unmarried men liver damage.
Grows
Whoa.
hair on your
Well,
hands,
unmarried
too.
men, but
And-
married men are safe.
Yeah, apparently married men are safe. And how smartphones cause people to have irregular voices.
What?
So he's done
They're
some
smart.
really
That's
great
because we
research.
sound different on the phone than we do in real
This guy
life.
sounds
Puppies
like
are
he's from the
cute. We die
Looney
eventually.
Tunes.
Like,
Wait, hold on.
So wait a minute. This
mean-
guy released a statement, a long list of statements of his declarations that basically confirmed to me that I shouldn't be listening to a single freaking thing this
Well,
guy
no,
said.
how-
Don't
Pretty
listen to Professor
How is
Dong
he
Wang.
getting
Yeah.
funding?
amen.
Significant money to look into this. Who is doing that?
He might have just sealed the deal.
He's
He's
a
a porn
professor.
star name.
Is there nothing else going on in South Korea? The South Korean
People
government.
maybe
You didn't read this
so
on the Onion,
intrigued.
did you?
Anytime.
I'm just
no.
gonna ask real quick.
No, I
you
think-
didn't get this from
No,
the
that was
Onion,
a
right?
Kotaku story.
Okay.
But
Oh, that's even worse.
all right.
Although
But anyways,
there have been a couple of news outlets that have been toying around with doing what the Onion is doing. I don't know if you've seen Variety is like doing their own like fake like entertainment news now as well.
I think they'd have to warn you though, if you didn't know it was the Onion.
Kotaku
They caught a lot of people
loves
off guard.
to publish rumor as fact.
Well, no,
Those
I mean, look,
guys.
there's not saying this is going anywhere. Apparently, this is just some random crap that happened. But, anyways, I just want to say Professor Dong Wang anytime we have a study. That's what I'm going to do from now on.
Dong Wang. Could you just say it, period?
Dong
I think
Wang.
you should have him on the show.
Dong Wang.
I know.
That'd be a fascinating interview.
That
I tell you
would.
what.
We're gonna
Get
spend
me
our
outta here.
entire remaining budget getting him to come here.
Dong, it's actually Dong Wang Cho. I think I read that wrong.
Oh.
Dong Wang.
That's even funnier.
But okay, so we do have with us a special guest,
Darn it.
Patrick Dees. Do you want to talk a little bit about Cross Pixel?
Pixel by Pixel podcast.
Pixel by Pixel, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I mean, I don't know what to say. don't know what to say about it. It's a podcast. We talk about modern narrative in video games. We'd love to have some of you guys on at some point. But you can find us at Pixel by Pixel Podcast, and you can find us on iTunes at Pixel by Pixel.
All right, so thank you for coming with us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's been fun.
Spirited conversation.
You guys are great.
So we do want to ask you guys before we go, we have got a question for you, which is how you feel about the Xbox One. Everyone, we've all had very different opinions, as you heard. So how do you feel? Who do you agree with the most or the least? Let us know. So with that said, we will
let us know.
So with that said, we will wrap up the show. And guys, thank you again for joining us. Once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That's Klein. Or check out my website, djk-online.com.
And you can find me on my Facebook page and Twitter, KAORIOUS.
I'm on Twitter at GAK, and you can find me reviewing games weekly on nerdluster.com.
GAK is kind of hard to remember.
I know,
GAK,
right?
3 letters.
Right?
Fantastic handle.
And you can find me on Twitter, which is @TheRachel, or my YouTube, which is youtube.com/Raychul Moore. And I will have a Fuse Let's Play and review coming up tomorrow.
Great.
Yay!
You can find me at P to the D's and check out Pixel by Pixel Podcast.
P to the D's.
P to the
Spell it
D's.
out.
I
Spell it
like
out.
that.
P to the DEES.
I like that. I like
to
that.
I have it up on a lower third so they can totally read it.
Yay!
And I believe it's just the letter P, is not PEE.
No.
To the DE.
No. Nope.
Yeah.
P to the D.
We got that. All right, guys.
Excellent.
We will see you next week for pre-E3.
Pre-E3.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.